kindly for joining us on the program. Our audience is Charlottesville-wide, Albemarle County-wide, Central Virginia, Commonwealth, country, and worldwide on the I Love CVille Network. A lot we're going to cover on today's show, including offering you a follow-up to an all-hands-on-deck meeting last night at Albemarle High School with the principal of the school, the athletic director of the school, the head varsity football coach of the school, and parents of the football program. I have significant firsthand perspective from a number of parents that were at the meeting. Relayed to me, insisting, asking, encouraging, thanking us for covering this story. If you've noticed, the hazing incident at Albemarle High School, which we covered yesterday, has not in detail been reported by anywhere else in Charlottesville. Not newspaper, not radio, not television, just here at the I Love CVille Show. And you know why that is? It's because it's a very difficult story to cover. That's why. It's a very difficult story to cover. We're talking a hazing incident that involved object penetration, older students bullying, object penetrating a younger student, and then the hazing incident captured on social media and then shared widely across the school. I've also heard from 2 teachers at Albemarle High School that are active on this, and 1 middle school teacher about this. I'm going to relay all this to you today. I'm going to flip the script a little bit. And why I'm going to flip the script is because we've been very much consumed in the depths of this story. I mean, this story is like emotional quicksand for parents. I had a conversation yesterday with the head coach at Western Albemarle High School after yesterday's show. And this coach, he said, being a parent changes you, man. Once you become a parent, you start thinking about the world as it applies to your kids. And it was so right, what he said. And that's how my wife and I have been thinking about this story. We've been thinking about this story as if our kid, if it had happened to him, and we even thought of this story, and remember, our kid's 4.5. We even thought about it, what if he was the one that was involved doing the perpetrating, doing the bad stuff? And that's how you think as parents now. I want to get the other items of note that need to be relayed to the community first. And then we'll get to the Albemarle story. We'll get to the other stuff first, okay? Okay. Yesterday there was a city council meeting. In the city council meeting yesterday, we found out the city of Charlottesville, City Hall, has brokered a deal with York Place on the downtown mall. And the city of Charlottesville is going to spend $5,000 a month in rent with York Place on the downtown mall. And the reason City of Charlottesville is going to give York Place, the Lewis family owns this institution, this iconic building on the mall. The Lewis family is fantastic, fabulous landlords. I'm throwing no shade on the Lewis family, and I'm throwing no shade on York Place. City of Charlottesville said, we want to give you a lot of money. You have bathrooms on the downtown mall, and we want to utilize those bathrooms in a public bathroom setting as opposed to the private public bathroom setting that you have now. Let's cut to the chase. The bathrooms in York Place were one of the worst kept secrets from a private bathroom status. If you spend any time in Charlottesville or on the downtown mall, you knew there were bathrooms in York Place that you could have utilized when you had to go to the bathroom. The city of Charlottesville brokered a deal with York Place, $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year in rent. And the whole purpose of this deal was to offer bathrooms in downtown Charlottesville. There's once again been a very loud, very vocal, very organized, but extremely small in number. Most of them lurk on Twitter, behind anonymous profiles, behind profile pictures that are not their face, behind accounts that don't have their names on it, flexing keyboard muscles because they have anonymity on social media. And this loud, organized, very small in number population influenced City Council to broker this deal with York Place. Now $60,000 of your money and my money, these are taxpayer dollars, are being allocated to renting 2 bathrooms from a private landlord. Have you guys ever been in York Place? Have you ever walked the hallway from the downtown mall to Water Street? You enter where the dumpling shop is and Grit Coffee. You enter those doors, and then you can go down this hallway, and there's an alteration place. I took photos of it today. Kim's Alterations. There's Nada Nails in there. There's Sombreros, the Mexican restaurant in there. York Place has a rental office in there. Middle of the way through this hallway, there's a door. And the door the door was disguised with a sign that said sprinkler valve on it. And the reason that door was disguised with a red sign with white lettering called sprinkler valve was the vandalization took place in this hallway and these bathrooms was tremendous. So the decision was made, let's see if we can take off the bathroom signage from this door and disguise it with a red and white sign that says sprinkler valve on it. And maybe we can, with this disguised tactic, prevent nefarious, mischievous vandalizing from happening. So the city of Charlottesville has said, look, we want to rent these bathrooms from you. We're going to give you $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year. Let's take these bathrooms and let's convert them into clearly marked public restrooms as opposed to this like secretive public-private bathroom. If you were a local, if you spent time in the downtown mall, you knew you could use these restrooms. You knew you didn't have to buy dumplings or coffee or get alterations done and get your nails done, have some Mexican cuisine at Sombreros. You knew you could just go to these bathrooms and use them. But many in the community, and I understand their position, the downtown mall should have public restrooms. I want Twitter Charlottesville, the small, vocal, very small in number, but very vocal. Often people hiding behind fake profile pictures and names. You know who you are. I want you to hear this. I think the downtown mall should have public restrooms. However, I do not think those public restrooms should be in a private shopping area that is populated with private businesses that are struggling to survive. I spoke to a member of the janitorial crew at York Place this morning, and within the last 24 hours, I spoke to 3 merchants that are currently in York Place. The 3 merchants had this to say to me: we're struggling to pay our bills. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, we deal with a number of teenagers in and out of York Place, vandalizing the area, doing drugs, vaping, smoking weed in the area, making out, loitering, causing mischief in the hallway from Water Street to the downtown mall. We deal with this constantly. These merchants have confirmed that they've had to spend their own money to create additional safety mechanisms for their businesses in York Place once they're closed from an after-hours standpoint. Not all the businesses in York Place are open in the evening hours, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, when a lot of this mischief is happening. These merchants conveyed to me, because of this platform, asked us to get this to you, the community. They said, once these bathrooms become public, they're currently being remodeled right now by the city of Charlottesville. They will become public very soon. The merchants have said, once these bathrooms become public, the collateral damage we will face will be far greater than we have faced so far, because many of the folks in the community did not realize that the bathrooms were even there. Remember, they were behind a door that was disguised that said sprinkler valve on it. Go to I Love CVille Instagram and you will see what I'm talking about. I took photos. I clearly depicted what's going on. After having the conversation with the 3 merchants in York Place, I then had a conversation this morning with the cleaning crew, someone on the janitorial staff of York Place who was in the process of cleaning the hallway and going in and out of the sprinkler valve room where the bathrooms are. I said, tell me what's going on. Here's what she said. These bathrooms every weekend are constantly destroyed, to the point where we've had to lock them up at times. Every Monday, I'm in here cleaning some of the nastiest stuff that you will find. Clear drug use is being done in the bathrooms. The upkeep is not there. And it's her words, teenagers running amok, unsupervised. She was perplexed that these bathrooms were about to be made public and then marketed and promoted by Charlottesville as the place to use on the downtown mall. Her words. So here you have 3 merchants in York Place and a member of the janitorial crew saying, what is possibly going on, and how is this an intelligent decision? Now, I'm a man of solutions. I try to create or anticipate or figure out the response to the commentary that I just delivered to you. And the commentary that I just delivered to you is going to frustrate or anger some folks, mainly the people hiding behind fake profiles, not utilizing their name on Twitter, and flexing their keyboard muscles on the Twitter sphere. So, here are the solutions that I propose, which are on the I Love CVille Instagram. Go to I Love CVille on Instagram now, okay? This is what I wrote. Very succinctly and easy to understand. The $60,000 per year public restrooms in York Place are behind the door marked sprinkler valve. The city of Charlottesville is renting these small bathrooms from York Place for $5,000 per month. These restrooms are currently being remodeled to accommodate the massive demand headed their way. I spoke to a member of the janitorial crew this morning. While cleaning the hallway, she said the sprinkler valve sign was utilized as a deterrent to disguise the public restrooms because, and I quote, so many kids were terrorizing the hallway and shops and destroying the bathrooms. They are running around here unsupervised, end quote. Furthermore, I spoke with 3 business owners in York Place within the last 24 hours. Each of them is quite worried about the city renting small restrooms for public use within York Place. One merchant said, and I quote, "This will create even more difficulty for our business at a time when we can barely pay our bills," end quote. The merchant said, and I quote, "Children are running through York Place unsupervised, using drugs in the hallway and bathrooms, destroying private property and disrupting our businesses," end quote. I continue to write this. The public restrooms should have been placed in city-owned property instead of privately owned property. Those are my words. I repeat, the public restrooms should have been placed in city-owned property instead of privately owned property. The public restrooms should not have been put in a tight hallway amongst locally owned businesses that are struggling to pay their bills. York Place is already being disrupted by unsupervised teenagers, especially on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evening. The city should have utilized the transit station for the public restrooms, or the city could have paid for nice bathroom closets and positioned them at Central Place at the center of the mall. Instead, the city thought $60,000 per year plus upkeep costs and a private hallway amongst private businesses with private tax-paying residents living above them. York Place has apartments for rent on the floors above it. The city thought that was the right move. Now, help me understand this, please. I'm going to ask straightforward, common sense questions, okay? What do we think is going to happen in a very narrow hallway with very tiny bathrooms when this narrow hallway and these tiny bathrooms are marketed by Charlottesville City as the only public restrooms on the downtown mall? What do we think is going to happen? Best case scenario. This is the best case scenario. The hallway leading to those tiny bathrooms will be crammed with people at times, creating a safety hazard. And this is the best case scenario. Best case scenario. The hallway, shoulder to shoulder people waiting to use the restroom. Fridays after 5, after a concert, come Christmas and holiday season. What do we think is going to happen in that hallway? 3 people would struggle to go shoulder to shoulder, 4 people maybe, depending on how wide they are, and walk down that hallway. These bathrooms are not the bathrooms you see at Scott Stadium. They're small. The entry quarter is small. That's the best case scenario. You have a safety issue with people loitering, waiting for restrooms because they have to go to the bathroom. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario. Here's the worst case scenario. Destruction, damage, mischief, vandalization. You are already hearing from the merchants that they're using extra safety procedures, including security cameras and padlocks on their door. You're already hearing from the merchants that drug use is happening, that vandalization is happening. When you amplify for the community that this is the public restroom for an 8-block downtown mall, is common sense not more of this going to happen? Isn't that common sense? It seems so obvious, right? I'm going to ask a couple other questions. Should City of Charlottesville, should they not have considered public restrooms a utility for the downtown mall, a public park? Did you know the downtown mall, by definition, is a public park? It's a public park. Should the City of Charlottesville and its leaders not have utilized city-owned property for the public restrooms in the public park? Should it not have done that? Should the City of Charlottesville not have considered water closets or bathroom closets? You see these at weddings. These things are pretty darn nice now. Pretty darn nice. It's not the porta potties of yesteryear. These are water closets, bathroom closets that are pretty nice. You can rent these water closets. You don't even have to buy the water closets. You can put the water closets strategically anywhere on the downtown mall, including the center of the mall in Central Place. Do you remember some years ago where there was a kiosk on the downtown mall selling periodicals and newspapers and magazines and some coffee? Hell, Chaz Webster, the former food and beverage entrepreneur, at one time was slinging drinks out of that kiosk, running to the box. Remember the box? The box is now Jack Brown's. Chaz used to own the box. They had a damn good quesadilla, a fantastic burrito. That was Atomic Burrito before it was the box. It was Atomic Burrito. He was running to Atomic Burrito, making drinks over there, and bringing them back to the kiosks in the center of the mall and selling them to people. I used to buy them. They were great. Chaz, I thought it was brilliant. I respected your hustle and chutzpah, dude. I thought it was effing brilliant. That kiosk eventually closed, and I hear it's in someone's backyard in the city of Charlottesville. Okay? That's a blast from the past right there. Why not consider the water closets right in the center of the mall where that kiosk used to be? Why not consider the bathrooms that already exist in the transit center where the city controls the property and it's much wider, much more accommodating of large groups of people? I am often left perplexed and scratching my head. What is going on with the town I love from a leadership standpoint? This is another example. Now, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. This experiment, $60,000 of taxpayer money, is going to be a train wreck. A tiny, narrow hallway cannot accommodate the amount of people that will use these restrooms. All right. A couple more topics before we get to last night's Albemarle High School parent meeting. Parents in Central Virginia, tell your friends to watch what we're about to relay to you. Firsthand from last night's meeting at Albemarle High School with parents, the principal, the athletic director, and the football coach. Before we get to it, a couple other topics. Draft Taproom is currently being renovated on the downtown mall. 60 taps of beer, fantastic televisions all over Draft Taproom. They're renovating it. I'm being told it's nearing reopening. I'm very excited for this. You get to try various kinds of beer in different sizes of cups or glasses. You get charged by the ounce. You pour it yourself. It's a fantastic business model, and it offers a great setting for viewing sports. There are few options on the downtown mall to view sports. That's one of them. It's getting remodeled. It's close to being reopened. A couple other topics I want to throw to you. The University of Virginia football team is playing Georgia Tech Thursday night. This is a national televised game. It's on ESPN this Thursday evening. The UVA football team is struggling mightily. Tony Elliott, the head football coach at the University of Virginia, is catching a lot of heat right now. His team is 2-4 overall and 0-3 in ACC play. They had a bye week this past weekend. Let's see how this football team responds coming out of the bye week. There are 3-point underdogs right now. The over-under is at 47 points, the over-under. The Yellow Jackets are a 3-point favorite. They're hosting UVA at Georgia Tech in Hotlanta. The Virginia offense, Brennan Armstrong, this wide receiving core that's super deep, they look like a shadow of their former selves, man. I don't even know what's going on with this offense. They look like a shadow of their former selves. Defense is actually playing pretty darn well. Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m., UVA at Georgia Tech. Couple other items that we're going to get to. There was a story about minimum wage and cities on CNBC. How many hours minimum wage earners need to work to live in big cities in the area, in the country, excuse me. In New York City, if you want to afford rent on a one-bedroom apartment in New York City and you're earning minimum wage in Manhattan, you have to work 111 hours a week for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. That's 111 hours a week. I mean, let's divide that by 7. 111 divided by 7, you're working 16 hours a day just to afford your rent in New York City. A one-bedroom apartment in the Big Apple. Good God.
It's insane.
It's insane. It's $15 an hour, the minimum wage in Manhattan. In Los Angeles, you're working 84 hours a week to afford a one-bedroom apartment. The highest one on the list, you know what it is? Dallas, Texas. Because there's limited housing. The supply is smaller than New York City. And this is according to CNBC. The article's online. You can find it. The article is headlined, "Minimum wage workers in New York City need to clock over 100 hours a week to afford rent." In Dallas, Texas, you have to, excuse me, San Jose, California is the worst. In San Jose, California, with a minimum wage of $16.20, you have to work 141 hours a week. 141 divided by 7 days in a week, you're working 20 hours a day in San Jose, California, if you're making minimum wage, just to afford a one-bedroom apartment.
You couldn't even do that with a couple.
20 hours a day. A couple would have to work 10 hours a day, each of them. And I doubt
7 days.
7 days a week. I doubt they would stay a couple for very long working that schedule because they'd never see each other.
Yeah.
Dallas, you have to work 120 hours a week to afford a one-bedroom apartment. Here's the thing with Dallas. The minimum wage is $7.25. San Diego, 90 hours a week. San Diego's minimum wage is $15 an hour. San Antonio, 97 hours a week. San Antonio's minimum wage is $7.25. Philadelphia, 110 hours a week. Minimum wage, $7.25. We have a housing crisis in America. The housing crisis is not unique to Charlottesville. It's not unique to Albemarle County. It is in America. We are vastly under-rooftopped, under-inventoried in our country. And you want to hear something very straightforward? New construction is at a standstill pace right now because the interest rates are rising, and they're rising quickly. The cost of goods, lumber, appliances, bricks, drywall, granite, they're volatile in nature and increasing in value. It's impossible to find labor to build new construction. On top of that, Hurricane Ian in Florida, was it Hurricane Ian? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that was the most recent one.
The most recent one was Ian. Hurricane Ian is cannibalizing much of the new construction labor and taking it to the Sunshine State. People working in construction are sprinting to Florida to take advantage of billions and billions and billions of dollars of renovations and earning money in temperatures where you can work year-round as opposed to winter climates. It was 31 degrees this morning where I live. I was thinking about the students waiting at bus stops this morning. The first morning where I looked at my temperature, where I woke up this morning, let's go to a two-shot. Let's welcome Judah B. Wickhauer to the program. Today was the first morning, good afternoon. Today was the first morning I have noticed since the school year started where the temperature was below freezing.
Yeah, I can usually just head out with the sweater on, but not this morning. I had to put on a jacket.
Right. First one. For you, so far since school started, high school, middle school, elementary school?
Yep.
I sympathize with the parents and empathize with the students that moving forward, it's going to get colder, not warmer. That's called winter.
Happens every year.
Happens every year. They're going to be sitting in bus outside, standing, sitting, huddled, cuddled, bundled, waiting for buses that are hours late. Hours late. That's a crisis. Two other items before we get to the Hazing story, where we're going to spend a half an hour on this show. The I Love CVille, our company, I Love CVille, this Miller organization that we've created, we're going to launch a nonprofit. It's going to be called the I Love CVille Foundation. And the I Love CVille Foundation, we're going to have a website, we're going to have a portal, a web portal, we're going to have a brand. It's going to be mobile responsive, the website. It's going to respond to your computer screens, your iPads, your tablets, your smartphones, and it's going to encourage the community to engage with it from a nonprofit standpoint. And the whole point of the I Love CVille Foundation, nonprofits in the area that are struggling for branding and advertising, for fundraising, and for awareness, they're going to apply through the I Love CVille Foundation. And the I Love CVille Foundation and our team here in the Macklin building will pro bono, absolutely free, no charge to the nonprofits. We will welcome them on the I Love CVille show. We will help them from an advertising and branding standpoint. We will help them from a strategy and fundraising standpoint, no charge to them. I'm going to pick one nonprofit every quarter. We're going to spotlight them on the show. Judah will be a part of the decision making. The team will be a part of the decision making. My wife will be a part of the decision making. You guys, nonprofits, will apply through the I Love CVille Foundation, and we will offer you pro bono services over the course of a 90-day period. 4 nonprofits a year will be spotlighted through the I Love CVille Foundation. On the show, on all our social media channels, on our massive reach e-newsletter and our website. We will help you from a fundraising standpoint and an awareness standpoint. No charge to the nonprofit. And you know why we're going to do that? Because it's the right thing to do. Because it's the right thing to do. 15 years, this coming May, I've been self-employed, running businesses, my businesses. And the community's been great for us. Great for us. And we're going to give back. All right. Last thing I want to talk about on the show before we get to the story. With Albemarle Hazing on the football team, object penetration. That was then circulated via social media throughout the entire school and much of the community. I found out last night, dude, that video, the hazing incident, wasn't just shared at Albemarle High School. It was shared at other high schools in Central Virginia.
Oh, man.
Let's go Police Civilian Review Board, Police Civilian Oversight Board. Hansel Alejandro Aguilera, the first executive director of the Police Civilian Oversight Board, has resigned, and it's effective October 21. The first executive director of the Police Civilian Oversight Board, the board that basically oversees police officers in the city of Charlottesville and tries to see if arrests or tactics were done incorrectly or unjustly, right? That's the whole point of an oversight board. The executive director, the first one hired by Charlottesville City, has already resigned, and he hasn't even been on the job a year. He is heading to the West Coast, to Berkeley, California, where he's taken a job that's offering him significantly more money. We're talking barely a year on the job, and the guy resigns. He sprints for Berkeley, California. This guy was paid well over 6 figures as the executive director of this review board. Well over 6 figures. He stayed on the job a year. Here's something really interesting. Ready for this? Hansel Alejandro Aguilera, the first executive director of the Police Civilian Oversight Board, started looking for a new job 7 months into his job in the city of Charlottesville. 7 months in. What does that tell you?
Tells me that Charlottesville's not all it's cracked up to be. I don't know.
Dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
7 months in. 7 months in. A 6-figure job in Charlottesville. 6 figures plus.
Yeah.
Benefits, perks, 6 figures plus. Instead, he's going to Berkeley, California, where undoubtedly he's going to be paid more money, but the cost of living is astronomically more.
No doubt.
7 months into the job, the first executive director, is already looking for a new gig. All right. Now the topic that is difficult to talk about. that parents on this football team are very much encouraging me to talk about. I'm going to read verbatim what happened last night from a parent that was in attendance. Okay? We're not going to utilize this person's name. You read it as well, did you not?
Yeah.
Did you read it? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Last night, Albemarle High School. Parents invited by the principal and one of the teachers who listens to this show. I respect her very much. She's offering background as well, including how to pronounce this principal's name. Dara rhymes with Sarah. Sarah? Dara?
Mara.
And last name, Bonham. The principal's name, Dara Bonham. Thank you, teacher, for helping me pronounce this name and offering this substantial background here, which I will also relay to the viewers and listeners after passing along this firsthand account from a parent that was in attendance last night. Principal Dara Bonham, the athletic director of Albemarle High School, and Coach Brandon Isaiah were in attendance, according to this parent. This parent said the athletic director, the athletic director, had to leave in the middle of the meeting for something that happened in the field hockey game that was going on at the same time as the parent meeting. This meeting was last night in the lower cafeteria at Albemarle High School. The parents said they believe the meeting was supposed to mostly be about assuring the parents that the kids were safe at school, assuring the parents that it's still a family at Albemarle High School with its football program and athletics, and it was done in a lot of ways as a pick-me-up for the parents after this post-hazing incident. The hazing incident, if you didn't watch yesterday's show, I'll give it to you in a nutshell. I don't even want to talk about this stuff. I was speaking with my wife yesterday. It just weighed heavy on me all day, and she saw it. This was the hazing incident that happened last week. JV football team. Older kids on the team hazed a younger player on the team. And they hazed this younger player through object penetration. Object penetration. Other athletes, student athletes, kids, JV football players in the locker room videoed and recorded the object penetration and then circulated it all over social media, where much of the school, Albemarle, has seen the video now of the young man being object penetrated. Unfortunately, that video is now circulated through a number of other schools in Central Virginia, public and private. And that's what happens with social media. We talked yesterday, Jude and I don't want to speak for you, so you jump in anytime you want. I'm not speaking for you on this topic, okay? Everyone has on this topic, you're on your own. And you don't even have to go into this arena if you don't want to, okay? This arena comes with collateral damage. I said yesterday, prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. Even calling this hazing, I don't even think is an applicable description of what happened. The more that I think about this is rape.
Yeah.
This is rape. This is rape in a group setting. Not one-on-one rape, which is god-awful, but group rape. This is child pornography because it was recorded and then circulated. This is multiple crimes. The police are actively investigating this. Actively. This is as deplorable of a story as I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Anything you with that?
Yeah, definitely. I agree completely that this was rape, and I think no matter where you find it, it's pretty much the most despicable thing you can do to someone, apart from murdering them.
Right.
It's violence to every part of it, not just physical but mental, emotional. It's horrendous.
Horrendous. Thank you. Yes. Something that will linger with the young man and his family for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the first-hand account of what happened at the meeting last night. Albemarle County principal was in attendance. Brandon Isaiah, the head football coach, was in attendance. The athletic director was in attendance. The athletic director had to leave in the middle of the meeting for something that happened in the field hockey game, according to the parents. The meeting was in the lower cafeteria. The meeting was supposed to be a reassurance meeting. Good God, out of touch, reassurance, we're family. Those are my words, that's not the parents. Of course, they asked the parents in attendance, do you have any questions? If I was in that meeting, I'd be the first raising my hand. My wife knows this. I'd be my first raising my hand asking questions, and I wouldn't just ask one. Multiple parents immediately asked questions. First, the room went completely quiet. Then a parent asked, if it's so safe at schools, where were the coaches during all this? The parents relaying this information to me also said this, Jerry. The junior varsity football team at Albemarle High School has a lot of players on it, nearly 60 players on the roster. They used to have a 9th grade football team, but that is no longer an option, 9th grade football. So now you have 8th graders, 9th graders, and 10th graders on the JV football team, and they don't cut anyone anymore from the football team at the JV level. That's a problem right there. No cuts. So you have too many people on the roster. Mm-hmm. 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade on this JV team. Nearly 60 players on the team. That is so many kids. 60 players nearly on a team. That right there is a recipe for disaster with a coaching staff that is not necessarily trained in child management, teenage management, having to manage nearly 60 kids. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You think teachers are underpaid? Teachers are severely underpaid. You know who else is severely underpaid? Junior varsity football coaches that make nothing, like barely anything at all. Like a little tiny stipend. And then they're having to manage nearly 60 kids on a roster? Jesus. That's a recipe for disaster. Because you're not going to make any cuts on a roster. Give me a break. The varsity football team at Albemarle High School has less numbers. So some of the JV kids get pulled up from junior varsity football to varsity football to help fill in the gaps when there's injuries or when some of the JV kids are performing well. They get the promotion to varsity for a game, maybe a couple of games, maybe longer. The JV locker room is in the school building near the gym. The varsity locker room is in the field house near the football field. The three main, is the word culprits?
Yeah.
Perpetrators?
Those both work, I think.
The three main culprits, perpetrators, were JV and varsity players. Playing on both. There were no coaches in the varsity locker room when this happened. The incident happened in the varsity locker room. The JV football coach was not at the meeting last night, just the varsity coach. The JV assistant coach was not at the meeting last night. That would read between the lines. The JV head coach and the JV assistant weren't on the meeting last night. I would imagine they're probably being investigated. Albemarle County Public Schools is doing whatever it humanly can to limit legal exposure through this. So how you limit legal exposure is you start to silo communication. How you limit legal exposure, lawsuits, is you silo communication. You limit who could speak on the record. Parents were wondering why the coaches weren't in the locker room when this happened. When those questions were asked, when pointed and direct questions were asked to the principal, Dara Bonham, the athletic director, and the head varsity football coach, they chose this path, which frankly is the smart path. It's an infuriating path, but the path they chose was, we cannot comment on this because it's an ongoing investigation. You have to take that path. It's frustrating as all hell to take that path for those asking the questions, especially the parents, but they have to do it to limit legal exposure. There's too many kids on this team to handle. Nearly 60 kids on a roster is an impossible number to handle when you have limited coaches. That's like a student-teacher ratio of like 30 to 1. And they're not in a classroom. A classroom offers some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like orderliness. Behavior in a locker room is going to be very different than a behavior in a classroom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just because of behavior and social norms.
You've got segregated sexes. You've got specific ages. You've got kind of the camaraderie that comes with shared experiences in sports.
Yeah. Very different setting, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Interestingly, the season has not been canceled. I found that interesting. Did you?
Yeah.
I'm stunned that the season has not been canceled. The JV season. Stunned by that.
I mean, initially it sounded like a lot of people were watching this. I don't know how many were actually in the locker room when it happened. If it was just, 3 or 4, then I can, maybe understand how they've weeded out who was involved and they're going to let the rest continue. But yeah, if it was a larger issue, I would take issue with them not shutting the whole thing down. But, it's not our decision. We don't have all the details.
Right. I'm getting past directly from the parents what's going on. I'm going to read directly from a teacher within Albemarle County Public Schools. What was texted to me this morning. P.S. Jerry, I'll say she. This teacher sent me some other stuff. That's why she started this text with P.S. She says, the AHS, Albemarle High School assault, is effed up beyond anything I have ever encountered as a teacher. We found out about it last week and teachers were in tears at school. walking around in a daze. There's a JV football player in one of my classes, and he was called to the office the morning after it happened and was questioned. He is not talking about it because he is very disturbed. Saw the video that had already left the locker room when it happened. And she, like all the parents that are contacting with me, have said a lawsuit should be on the horizon.
That's good.
I would imagine. All right, let's talk strategy for the parents involved. So, you know what? My whole plan here, this is my whole plan here. My whole plan, Judah, is to try to is to do this. This is what I'm trying to do here, okay? This has not been reported by the newspapers, any of them. This has not been reported by any of the TV stations. This has not been reported on radio. I am trying to use this platform and influence to put this in the news cycle so it gets more attention and coverage because it deserves it. Attention and coverage holds people accountable. Attention and coverage can correct felonious behavior for the future. I would bet you there's going to be a plan in place moving forward that anytime kids are in a locker room, they're not going to be unsupervised. You want to bet that's going to be put in play?
Definitely.
I bet you that happens, right?
Yeah.
And coverage like this, you know what it does? It gives the student that was raped and his parents leverage. And nothing you can do moving forward will ever erase the PTSD that will linger for a lifetime because of these circumstances. Nothing. Not therapy, not anything.
Yeah.
But there are some paths of pursuit for this family involved. Here's the first thing I would do for the family involved. I would lawyer up. I would lawyer up. I can suggest a fantastic law firm in Mickey Hamlet. Mickey Hamlet, Charlottesville Downtown Mall, right behind Truist Bank. Fantastic law firm. I can even suggest individual attorneys for you if you need me to, that I've worked firsthand with. Reach out to me if you want suggestions. I will legitimately suggest individual attorneys that you can utilize that will fight like a dog on your behalf. Lawyer up. First step. Second step. The utter pain you are feeling now is not going to go away. But accountability may offer some closure potentially. And that accountability must be pursued through an attorney and may yield a significant payday. Albemarle County Public Schools will not, in court, fight this in any capacity because of the PR you-know-what storm that would come with fighting this in court. Lawyer up. I suggest Mickey Hamlet off the downtown mall. If you need individual attorneys, I can help you with that. Hold parties accountable. Undoubtedly, the school system was negligent here. Undoubtedly. Hold individuals accountable. Pursue the individuals that were involved with this, not as if they were 9th or 10th graders, as if they were adults. Understand that this is going to take a long time, and ACPS is going to try to drag this out. That's a tactic utilized in cases like this. But the folks I know at Mickey Hamlet won't let that happen. They'll keep the momentum going. This is a significant payday. And while all this stuff is not going to alleviate the pain and the heartache and the damage that you're feeling as a family, what it may do is prevent this from happening again to another young man or young lady. And the coaches that are watching this program, athletic coaches, someone said this best on the show yesterday. Athletes today, students today, teenagers today, middle schoolers today are so desensitized to violence because of the video content they've absorbed on cell phones, unsupervised. When I was growing up as a kid, where we would see violence in video form was at the movie theater. Mm-hmm. And there were R-rated movies that you could not get into unless you were what, Judah? Was it 17, 18 to get into an R movie? It was different if you had your parent with you, right? It was either 17 or 18 to go see an R-rated movie.
Something like that, with a parent.
With a parent.
Yeah.
They couldn't go unsupervised.
Yeah.
Right? When we were kids?
Not like, yeah, NC-17 was, you had to be 17 at least. Rated R is probably 17 as well.
With a parent.
But it was with a parent.
Right.
If you were under.
So when we were growing up, when you viewers and listeners were growing up, we didn't have this kind of video content to desensitize us.
We also knew that the movies were movies. Like, you could go see some pretty crazy stuff in horror movies, but you knew it was fake blood. And nowadays you can see all of the worst of humanity if you go looking for it.
Anytime you want.
And it's not fake blood, and it's not, it's not stunt people.
It's human
putting
beings
on a fake fight. It's real people being human.
Right. Being the devil.
Sometimes.
I mean, you...
Definitely in this case.
Yeah. All over TikTok. All over YouTube.
Yeah.
All over Instagram. Anytime you want. With no age restrictions. 24/7. 365. With the tap of your fingertips. If that is not having a psychological damage on the next generation, you are not being true to yourself.
It's destroying our empathy.
Say it again.
It's destroying our empathy.
Amen. Well said. EQ is something in the past.
Not necessarily EQ, but there's
emotional intelligence.
Some similar. Yeah, I know.
And one of the most obscene aspects of this storyline, Judah, one of the most obscene aspects of this storyline, one of the most nauseating aspects of this storyline was the email that was sent on Sunday from the principal to the parents. Sunday morning, there was an email sent that's been shared to me now by 19 sets of parents. And this email was sent by the principal on Sunday, October 16th at 8:33 in the morning. It's this past Sunday. And in the email from the principal wrote to the parents, "Some of you may be aware of a recent article in the Crozet Gazette by Lisa Martin, an article that was based upon comments from a few former and present teachers at our school. The article reflected negatively on our school and our school climate. It was based upon the views of a few teachers and former teachers who disagreed with division policies and who exaggerated some issues about our school. There are issues that were raised in the article we must address, and I understand they may be concerning. As important, however, and what was missing from the article was recognition of the incredible successes that occur every day at Albemarle High School with our staff and students."
What does that have to do with this story?
It shows the following. This story about the hazing, the third party, the object penetration, happened last week, right? In the middle of the week. And then on Sunday morning, after this incident happened, the principal wrote an email to the parents in the AHS Weekly Connect newsletter and explained to them that the teachers in the Crozet Gazette article exaggerated what happened at Albemarle High School. It is the most out-of-touch form of communication you can imagine. Why would you send an email to parents a few days after despicableness, crime, feloniousness happens in a locker room, telling parents a few days after this act that the Crozet Gazette article was exaggerated?
But the Crozet Gazette article didn't have anything to do with this.
All right, I'll try a different approach. I'm going to try a different approach.
I think I get what you're saying.
In the middle of last week, are we in agreement that what happened in that locker room was undoubtedly a felony?
Yeah.
It was a felony, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that happened in the middle of last week, right? On Sunday, this past Sunday, last Sunday, a few days after this felony took place at Albemarle High School, the principal of the school is emailing the parents saying, "Albemarle High School, everything is fine."
Yeah.
That is the definition of out-of-touch communication. That is the definition of tone deaf. That is the definition of spin. That is the definition of piss-poor public relations management. That is the definition of piss-poor crisis management. And that is the definition of a principal that is trying to distance himself from felony, maybe unaware that stuff like this circulates on social media. And if he is unaware that stuff like this circulates on social media like it has, then good night, we have a completely different problem.
Okay. I'm not sure I completely agree, but
You don't send that email.
I think the issue is that he had to address the Crozet Gazette article.
He did not have to address the Crozet Gazette article in the shadows of object penetration rape.
But I think he
could have.
He may have been out of line. He may have just made a faux pas. But he probably thought he had to make. He was probably getting hit from all sides like you are.
Oh, no doubt he was getting hit from all sides.
And so he needed to address the Crozet Gazette article.
He did not need to address the Crozet Gazette article a few days after object penetration rape on his campus.
You might be right.
That is tone deaf, out of touch, and piss poor PR and crisis management.
I don't.
Do you not agree with me, viewers and listeners?
I don't know that ignoring it is any better crisis management than
how this was
addressing
handled.
A separate issue.
How this was handled with this email threw gas on the fire and further infuriated parents. It further infuriated teachers, and it further infuriated support staff. Do you see what my point is here?
I mean,
we can agree to disagree. I'm certainly not trying to get aggressive with you here.
Nobody's accusing the guy of being, a PR expert. It may have been...
But he has PR experts supposedly on staff.
Do they?
Philly G, the spokesman.
Philly G? Is that his real name or his
It's not
gang
his
name?
real name. Another impossible name to say. The spin doctor Phil
Just spell it.
Jaramita.
Jaramita?
Yeah. Giaramita. I've dubbed him Spin Doctor Philly G. Phil Jaramita.
Jaramita.
Yeah, is the spokesman.
Okay.
His job is PR in crisis management. His job is the public perception, brand management of ACPS. That's his job. They also have attorneys that work for ACPS. Before that email was sent to the parents, they should have... I hope to God that the Albemarle High School principal did not send this email to the parents and to the student body and to the teachers at Albemarle High School without running this email behind Philly G, the attorneys, Dr. Matthew Haas, and his cabinet. I hope to God.
And they may have all just told him, look, you're in a bad position. It's going to look bad no matter what. You need to get out in front of the Crozet article and deal with the other issue later. I don't know, but I think that ignoring the problem would have been worse. And I don't know the guy. I'm not really trying to defend the guy. This is just
I'm not
my
telling
view
him
of
to
it.
ignore the problem. I'm saying don't send a paper trail correspondence to parents saying the Crozet Gazette story was exaggerated. The violence depicted in the Crozet Gazette story, violence, that it was exaggerated in the shadows, in the wake, a few days after felony in a locker room.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I get it.
That is the definition of idiocy.
Okay.
Parents, I will continue respecting your anonymity. Teachers, I will continue respecting your anonymity. I'm trying to respond to as many of you that are contacting us. It's becoming more difficult because I'm getting a lot of contact. I will, however, respond to you. I promise you have my word as a man that your anonymity will be respected. And you've seen it already with how I go about things on this program and this platform. Okay? That's why we get this stuff, because we understand our word is our bond. Send it, please. And the parents of the child that have gone through this, that has gone through all this stuff, in conclusion, Mickey Hamlet, the law firm, they will fight tooth and nail for you. If you need recommendations of individual lawyers, I'm happy to pass them along. Hold everyone in this scenario accountable. The students that object penetrated, adult, not students, pursue as adults. You are not only fighting for some potential closure and some healing, which I don't even think will come from this, but you are certainly doing it for students in the future who may be at risk of similar circumstances. And lastly, whether it's worth anything to you, I think you're looking at millions of dollars from the Albemarle County Public School System in a payout. Millions of dollars. And if you think ACPS is going to fight you over this, contact me if they choose to fight you, because I will highlight how obscenely out of touch a school system will be about fighting in a circumstance like this, as opposed to settling. Because that is a PR nightmare that needs to be relayed to the community. I'm Jerry Miller. That's the I Love CVille Show.